Welcome to the grand opening of ceramics. Ceramics is clay objects made into a permanent shape by firing in a kiln. Some people think of clay. Clay is ceramics. So what are some materials you can use in ceramics? You can use clay. There's different types of clay body, slip, and glaze. There are different tools such as wooden tools, pen tools, texture rubbing plates, textured objects, rolling pins, slab roller, extruder, and those objects you can all use. Now I use a wire cutter, but I will not have that out for you guys to use. I use a pug mill, which is a machine that mixes and squeezes clay through a filter and takes all the air bubbles out of it. That's to recycle the clay. Kiln is a oven to fire or bake the clay projects at massive heats. Those three things you will not be using, but they are tools that are used with ceramics. There's different techniques you can use with ceramics. There's the pinch pot technique, the slab technique, coil, mold, and cross-hatching for attaching. There will be in the future QR codes attached to each of those on the poster for those of you that would like to scan the QR code to watch a little tutorial on how to do each of those techniques. Some other ceramic vocabulary you might hear is greenware. Greenware is unfired but dried clay, a clay piece. It's very fragile. A bisque fire is the first fire in the kiln after the wet pottery is created. It takes out all the water in the clay. A glaze firing is a firing done in the kiln after glaze has been applied to the bisque piece. And wedging, like a pug mill, it is the process of mixing and taking out air out of the clay, but done by hand, whether using the ram's horn method or shell method, just two different methods of doing the same thing. So that's the information on the cart with this poster. The poster sometimes comes off, it just says Velcroed on there, so you can put it back on if it comes off, please. On the cart are all the things that you can use there. On the top, there is a bucket that will have the clean, fresh clay ready to go. This has been pug milled in here. Once the clay is out for the day, it's out. I will refill it at the start of every day. We have rollers here. We have wooden tools. If you notice, keep all the wooden tools together, all the rollers together. If you keep it organized, it makes it easier for the next class coming in. You have pen tools or pencils that are right there. And then we have these stamps that you can use into the clay to get designs. There is a bag of plastic gloves here, or rubber gloves. The gloves are for glazing, but if you have an injury on your hand that you need to keep covered, you're welcome to use that when you're working with wet clay, especially if you have a cut on your finger so the clay doesn't get in there. Unless you have a Band-Aid. Band-Aid works well. That you just need a new Band-Aid at the end of class. That's fine. Okay, on the second shelf, there's rolling pins. There's different containers, different containers that you can use for drape pots or the mold technique. Inside that box is some plastic forks for cross-hatching, some rollers that have different textures on them, a container of seashells. Well, let's see if we can see those different seashells in there you can use. Also a box of different things that have been donated over the years, including necklaces. Let's see if I can. Necklaces that create some interesting textures, and Legos and various other things. You've got to check it out. And on the bottom shelf is some mats that you can use to work on. Just wipe them off when you're done and put them back on the cart. It makes it a little bit easier for cleanup. And let's see, that's all that's on the cart. You are welcome to use the slab roller after you watch the little tutorial on how to use it. You will also be able to use the extruder in the closet. The extruder looks like this. It's a tool which moist clay is loaded and then pushed through a shaped opening in the end to produce coils, blocks, or cylinders of clay. You'll watch a little tutorial on that, and then you can get permission to go back in the closet and use the extruder. Let's see, what else? Oh, what do you do with clay that you are recycling? Do not put it in the paper recycling. You're going to walk over to the exit door, and right below the pencil sharpener, there is a drawer here that you open up, and there's a container, and you open it up, and you can put the recycled clay in there. I will recycle that through the pug mill during my prep time later. Close it up, make sure it stays closed. It needs to stay moist so that way it's easier for me to recycle. I cannot recycle the clay when it is hard. Okay, then also, what if you're working on a project that is not finished but needs to stay moist? Well, then you'll need to get a paper towel with your name on it in pen, and then wet that paper towel after you put your name on it, and squeeze out most of the water. And then up here, I will have containers with your class name on it, and we can store it in the plastic Tupperware containers until next art time, where you can come back and continue working on the same project that you started the week before. So that's where that wet clay will be stored. When your project is finished, you'll want to make me aware of it, and we'll put it in the back closet where I have a shelf for drying clay, and that way it doesn't get bumped, because greenware, when it's dry, it's very fragile. Now, if you're at the ceramic center, you want to make sure that the ceramic center stays open. Make sure that at some point you take a tag. Only one person in the class needs to take the tag. This is what the tag says. I am choosing to be responsible for checking the ceramic center at the start and the end of class to make sure all supplies are where they should be and are in good condition. If anything is missing or not in good condition, I can fix it or tell Mrs. Banks. Please tell me if anything is out of order at the start of class so I can hold the previous class responsible. If you do not tell me at the start of class, I am holding your class responsible, and that could mean that your class has it closed the next art time. So, what do you need to do? It says, number 1, look at pictures at the ceramic center and count supplies. Is anything missing or not in its place? If so, fix it or tell Mrs. Banks. Does a material need to be refilled or a tool need to be fixed or replaced? If so, write it down on the refill fix-it list on the blue cart by Mrs. Banks' desk. When all is done, give this tag to Mrs. Banks at the end of class. Thank you for doing your job. So this, at the end of class, make sure you give me this card, and then I know that you have done your job for the day, and then I'll hang it up for the next class. Right now, I do not have a picture of the cart the way it should be, but I will be posting a laminated picture here so that way you can check the picture and make sure that everything is supposed to be the way it is at the end and at the start of class. Okay, so there'll be a laminated picture probably somewhere around this on each side of the cart so you can see on both sides. And I believe that is everything that you need to know. Here is also where the refill card is, in case you did not know, right next to my desk. There is on the second shelf. I'll just walk over there so you can see it. Here's the refill fix-it list for the art centers. Write down the art center, the art supply, your name and class, and then I'll check it off once I've filled it. If anything's broken or needs to be fixed, put it in the box, and I will do it during my next prep time. I believe that's all. Have a great ceramics experience, and you're done with this step.